Hi, my name is Karen Covey, and today we're going to make a vegetarian burger. This is a great alternative for vegetarians or even when you want a little bit more grains incorporated into your meal. We're going to start with equal parts of brown rice and bulgur, and we're going to bring them both to a boil separately in the pan. And then we're going to add in our brown rice to one pan and our bulgur into another. We're going to bring them to a boil and then let them simmer down and cook. And while the grains are cooking, we are actually going to start our onions. Now, the reason that we're going to do all this at the same time is because they all need to cool down a little bit. So while the grains are cooking, we're going to saute the onions and let everything cool to room temperature and then mix it all together. So in a pan, we're going to start with 1 tablespoon of oil. And we're going to wait for that to heat up until it's nice and hot. And we're going to add in our onions. And we're going to just gently saute these down. They're pretty finely minced. I want them finely minced because I want them to be nicely incorporated into the burger. I don't want any big chunks of onion, so I've minced them pretty finely. And we're going to let those cook down. We're going to season them with a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper, flavoring as we go. It's really important to cook with salt and pepper and to season each layer as you go. It really helps develop the flavor into the recipe so you're not just seasoning all at the end. Now our onions have finished cooking and we're just going to add in the garlic. Now I wait to add in the garlic just so it doesn't burn because the onions take a little bit longer than the garlic does to cook. Okay, so we put the garlic in here. We're going to let it cook for another 1 to 2 minutes. We're going to take it off the heat and then we're going to let it cool while we wait for the grains to finish cooking. So our grains have cooled and we've put them in a bowl along with the cooled onions and garlic. And now we're going to add the rest of the ingredients for the veggie burger. Now we start with a little bit of black beans, and I actually just take the back of a spoon and kind of mash some of them into themselves. But I like to leave a few of them whole. So you can mash them all if you like, you can leave them all whole. It's really up to you. I like the textural difference of having some beans whole and some beans not, but it's entirely up to you. So we've added our beans. Next is our breadcrumbs and a little bit of cumin, and that's going to give us some nice little flavor from the cumin. Season with salt and pepper. Now I'm just going to give this a quick stir to see how we're looking here. And then we're going to want to add some water and some egg. Now the thing with this mixture is you want it to be really kind of wet, because if it's not wet, it's not going to stick together. There's a lot of grains in here, so we need some good liquid to get it all together here. I've beaten 1 egg. And I kind of eyeball this. I add most of the egg. That's usually enough, but you may want to add a little bit more if your mixture seems a little dry. I also have a little bit of water here that I'm going to add in here too. Anywhere from 1 to 2 tablespoons. Again, look at your grains, decide how wet they need to be to hold together. You want a nice wet patty to form. I'm going to add a little bit more water. And just mix it all together. It's so easy. Okay, that looks pretty wet to me. So I'm going to put it aside, roll up your sleeves, because this is where you're going to get a little dirty. And you're going to take this and start to form it into a patty. Now, this is going to be messy, I'm not going to lie to you, but it will be worth it in the end. Now you can make this patty as big as you want. This is actually a great thing to do with sliders if you want to do it that way too. We're just going to form it into a patty and set it aside. And don't worry about the flatness of the patty yet, because it's actually easier to put in the pan if it's a little bit thicker. You'll have a little bit more control over it, and then you can flatten it a little bit once it starts to cook in the pan. So don't worry that it's too thick before you put it in the pan. You're going to have time to adjust that. So we're going to heat up our pan. I'm using the same pan that I used before, because I like to do as few dishes as possible. I'm going to heat up my oil in a nice pan and wait for it to get hot. This is really, really important. So your pan has to be hot, because the key to this burger success is that you want a good sear on the first side of the burger before you flip it, because if you don't wait for it to sear long enough, the burger's going to fall apart when you go to flip it. So you really want it to be good and seared. It takes about 5 minutes per side. But that first sear is really important. Okay, so I'm going to put the burger into the pan and let it go. Now, like I said, we're going to play with it a little bit to flatten it out, but we're just going to let it get a good sear for about 5 minutes. So our crust has formed on the bottom of our burger, and we're just going to flip it over. We're going to let it finish cooking the same way for about another 5 minutes on the other side. And then we're going to finish with our burger and our toppings and put it all together. So our burger is just about finished, and it has a good sear on both sides. And now we're ready to serve it up. We're going to put it on a good whole wheat bun. You can use any bun that you like, but I'm trying to keep this a little healthier as I put mayonnaise on my roll. You can put any topping that you want on here. Red pepper spread. Whatever you want. Hummus works really good here. And then just top it with whatever you want. I'm going to use some beautiful Bibb lettuce and some sprouts. And there you have it. Here's your good, hearty, healthy vegetarian burger.